Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you may be in the world, and welcome to race number 2 for the Kinnekulle Formula 1000. My name is Dan Paples, and as always, I'll be up here in the booth guiding you through all the action, but this time joined by a driver who drove at Yellow the last time out, Louise Larsen. Louise, first of all, welcome, and yeah, how are you enjoying the weekend so far?
Yeah, I was supposed to drive the Volvo Cup, but blew my engine, so now I'm here commentating with you instead.
I mean, beautiful view from up here, of course, better out there on track, but you've driven the Kinnekulle before. Tell us a bit about how it is to drive one of these cars.
Super fun car, really good starting to start your race career in. You learn a lot. Good starting point if you want to drive back wheel driven cars. So, and they're pretty young here. The youngest is 12 years old.
Yeah, Rodrigo Seabra. As you can see, the car's going out on track. Look at this. For the first time ever, we have onboard footage from Kevin Sørensen. He has his work cut out for him because he will start from P7. Going through the grid, then Johan Granfors will start, as always, on the pole position. Rodrigo Seabra in P2. And in P3, it's Dante Johansson. Victor Karlsson in 4th, 5th for Alexia Danielsson. Andreas Kotzebue in P6, ahead of the man we're looking at right now, Kevin Sørensen. Oskar Melstig in P8, Jonathan Erlander in 9th, Fredrik Lindholm in 10th, Johan Valand in 11th, Christian Lovin in P12, Elias Adestam, who had a stuck throttle in P1, will start, or in race 1, will start from P13, and Robin Hofström, who snapped his throttle cable, will start from P14. Louise, how difficult is it to start one of these cars?
It's a standing start, so you need to rev it up and then just really focus on the lights and go off. I like standing starts more than rolling starts, so I think it's really fun. Also
a opportunity to make up some positions. Usually what we see with rolling starts is that the field usually stays the same. It's a bit less chaotic going down into turn 1. You've driven on this track before. I heard you rolled the car at this track before. How difficult is turn 1 at the start?
Turn 1 is just under the bridge, and then it's just flat out. And then the second turn, I guess, is pretty difficult because you need to shift down, and a lot happening there.
All right, there we go then. We're waiting for the grid to line up. Safety car heads the field, and as always, drivers will be getting help by lining up in their spots. There we can see Johan Granfors in the 5, lining up at the front of the field. Rodrigo Seabra had a banging start in race 1. Rodrigo just about overshooting his spot. Will have to be either pushed backwards or stay where he is right now. They parked it perfectly on where he needed to stay. Victor Karlsson, who got promoted up into P3 after there was a penalty for Dante Johansson, a 10-second time penalty for pushing another driver off the track. That was Kevin Sørensen. It happened then at the turn 2. We saw that live. We missed Kevin afterwards. Of course, a bit of luck for Kevin that the safety car came out and that he had a last lap dash to make up some positions. Then the 55, of course, good race, but not quite what he was hoping for. He's looking for more here in this race. Oskar Melstig. Jonathan Erlander in 9th, the number 1. He will be happy with that result. Fredrik Lindholm in P10. Johan Valand in 11th. He will start in the number 2. That's how you can recognize him. Christian Lovin in P12. He went off on the last lap. Was challenging before that happened for P5, right behind Alexia Danielsson. That later then would turn into P4. Well then, let's wait till the 5 red lights come on and they go off. We're waiting for the marshal at the front of the field to give us the 5-second board. And we're watching the lights. Everyone is off the circuit now. Rescue car lined up out the back of the field. 5-second board is up. We're waiting for the 5 red lights to come on. There they are. They ignited very late in the last race. They are doing that now. Good start for Jula Grandforce, and even better for Rodrigo Seabra alongside him. But he can't do anything down in the turn 1. Looks like the top 3 is staying the same. The top 4 even. Alexia Danielsson trying to challenge Victor Karlsson. We're on board with Kevin Sørensen. You can see how chaotic it is at the start. Around the outside of Alexia Danielsson, trying to make his way immediately up into P4. He had a good start last time round. And this time he's on the outside of Alexia, but Alexia defends that successfully. A good start so far. It looks like everyone has gotten through the first couple of quarters cleanly. Alexia, who's on the back of the 44, so he's trying to defend. However, though, we started Alexia Danielsson in the beginning stages of last race, lost a couple of positions. It looks like she is in a better spirit right now. The podium for her would be great. Kevin Sørensen trying to make his way around, and I think actually Alexia made a bit of a mistake going into the right-hander, and she's dropped down to P6 now. Once again, not the best of starts for Alexia Danielsson. A cross-start finish. Jula Grandforce leading the way. He's never won a race yet, Rodrigo Seabra. He could do that today. He has one of the best starting positions he's had so far this season in P2. And you, Louise, know that starting from P2, you're under pressure from the beginning.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. Just taking it cool, I think everything will go fine.
Well then, once again on board with Kevin Sørensen. Love these onboard cameras. Kevin is loving it out on track. At the moment is looking at the battle right in front of him. That is the battle for P1. Kevin has made his way past Victor Karlsson in the 44. Skottebo, who had that contact earlier or at the later stages in the race with Christian Lovin, he is in P4. Well then, where is Christian Lovin? Because he had quite a late starting position. Christian at the moment, it looks like, if I look on my timing screen, is up into P9. A good start for him, especially starting at the back of the field down on P12 after that spin, after that off in race 1. Rodrigo Seabra didn't quite make it past the 5 of Jula Grandforce yet. It's difficult down at the turn 1, not really a braking zone, so you really have to wait till turn 2. As we had another off, someone dipping a tyre onto the grass, but all still fine. A little bit further back, Johansson, who's made his way through. I think I heard a car spin either in the background. So Rodrigo Seabra, I think, is challenged for the lead. He hasn't got it though. Jula Grandforce at the inside for the left-hander for turn 4, and he kept that first position. How difficult is it though, especially once you're going around the outside, Louise, to kind of feel where the other driver is?
Yeah, you need to have a lot of eyes in the mirrors, and in these cars you sit in the middle. It's a bit easier, I think, to like feel where the car is than if you sit in a car with a roof on.
There we go, closed cockpit racing, of course, one of the best racing series. We here at Aquila do it in open wheelers. We of course have fenders because they are young drivers. We talked to Don Sørensen, CEO of Aquila Racing Cars, yesterday. You can see the interview on the Instagram from Aquila a little bit later on today. But we talked to him. Kevin Sørensen, now his son, trying to make his way up the insides of Rodrigo Seabra. Has to leave room for him, but I don't think he's going to be successful with that move. Rodrigo defending that successfully. It is giving, however, Jula Grandforce a bit of a gap at the front of the field now. That gap will have extended to about 7/8 of a second. And we saw that once you get outside that 1.2 second range, the slipstream won't really help you that much anymore. I think Dante Johansson in the back also dropping a wheel onto the grass. Now, of course, he got that penalty. He's trying to make his way up. He's behind Alexia Danielsson at the moment. And that is in P7. But Dante Johansson, who's trying to make his way forward. Rodrigo Seabra, a bit of a gap now. Like I said, the Jula Grandforce. Then it's Victor Karlsson, who's on the bumper of Kevin Sørensen. He's closely followed by Andreas Skottebo and then Alexia Danielsson. We saw the fight in race 1 was mostly in the second group. We have one group now at the front of the field. And I think Skottebo has made his way up the inside. So has Dante Johansson. So that's a position gain. Looked like Alexia just dropped back to P7. Andreas Skottebo is now right ahead of Dante Johansson. Here we're once again on board with Kevin Sørensen. These are lovely pictures. You can see how blind these corners are. Now you see the apex of the next corner. It's crazy how blind these corners are. You really do see the apex of the next corner late. That makes it tricky to kind of gauge where you are on circuit. This left-hander, a lot of people take a wide entry into the corner because it sets you up better for the right-hander afterwards. And you must know, Louise, not all corners are about the corner itself. Sometimes it's about setting up for the next one.
Yes, it really is.
Kevin Sørensen up the inside of Rodrigo Seabra. He's going to drop back to P3. A good slipstream for Kevin. Made his way up into P2. We saw that from the onboard from Kevin Sørensen. He's now going to try and make his way past Joel Granfors. Struggled with a lot of oversteer in that car qualifying yesterday. It looked to have been fixed for race 1. Couldn't really feel that out because the race for him pretty much was over before it even began. About lap 3, got pushed off the track by Dante Johansson. Recovered well after a safety car period, but now is really the moment where he can gauge himself against Joel Granfors. Of course, Joel very much a threat now in the championship with the points that he gained earlier on in race 1. Elias Arestam, if we look at him, he's dropped back from that group. At the moment, Elias in P8, not where we were expecting him, and definitely not good for his championship chances in the beginning of this weekend. Qualifying, wasn't really confident in the car, a lot of understeer, couldn't get the car to turn, the complete opposite of what Kevin Sørensen had. So for him it was a difficult qualifying, a difficult race 1, like I said, with his throttle getting stuck. There wasn't any contact. I said that in race 1 that it looked like there was contact between him and Rodrigo Seabra, but that was not the case. There was about a meter in between them, and it was just about him having his throttle pedal stuck. Now we can see Kevin Sørensen almost pushing Joel Granfors through the left-hander. Keep it tight to the inside here in the right-hander. This is where you can lose or gain most of your time. Joel Granfors has done that successfully. Kevin Sørensen. Oh, we have it off. That's Victor Carlson. The 44 is spun off out of the right-hander. The compression not quite how he wanted it, and he's gone round. So that means that he's dropped all the way to the back of the field. Victor Carlson was P7, and now all the way at the back of the field. How easy is it to drop back though? Especially that corner, Louise, you know how difficult it is, especially with the bump out there.
Yeah, it's a little bump in the ground, so either you spin off or the car settles even more. And he must have hit it a bit wrong.
Yeah, that
so he
bump
bounced out on the curbs and spin around.
Easy to do in that corner. That has now dropped him to the back of the field. At the moment, he's in P12, so he's got to try and recover those positions. But without a safety car, I can't see him getting any higher than P10, really. And even that is going to be a bit of a challenge because he has Fredrik Lindholm and Oscar Melstig right ahead of him. So he's got to try and gain some time, especially if we look at the fastest lap times. He did do a 58.912 compared to a 59.9 from Fredrik Lindholm and a 1.00.067 for Oscar Melstig. So he should have the pace over them, but catching up is one thing, overtaking is another, famous racing driver once said. And now Kevin Sørensen is finding that out. He's been on the back of Joel Granfors for quite a while now. No one else has led this race since about lap 4 out of race 1. Other than Joel Granfors. He's now going to try to cut back into turn 3, and he's going to get it up the inside of Joel Granfors. He's going to get the better run out of the corner. If you look, they're still side by side into the left-hander. Rodrigo Seabra side by side with Dante Johansson. He's gotten through, but it's still side by side between Joel Granfors and Kevin Sørensen. Joel has the inside for the left-hander. Kevin is going to get bullied out here because Dante Johansson is coming through. After that 10-second time penalty, he's made his way all the way up into P2. An incredible drive by Dante Johansson, and he's now on the back of his biggest rival in race 1, Joel Granfors. Great move, a double overtake in the span of 2 corners for Dante Johansson. However though, the straight is his biggest competitor now because Kevin is going to get a huge tow. Joel Granfors now has to defend the inside for turn 2. You can't really overtake here. Here was the contact late on in the race between Christian Lovin and Andreas Kottebo. Once again, Kevin trying the inside on Dante Johansson this time. Joel Granfors is giving him a bit of a gap at the moment. So Kevin's got to wait, got to be patient. There's still 5.5 minutes left in this race. But with Rodrigo Seabra now on his back bumper, once again P4. Finished P3 in the last race. Or P2, excuse me. A great result for him, equaling his best result. But for the moment, it looks like Joel Granfors is allowed a bit of a gap since that Dante Johansson has overtaken Kevin Sørensen, Ewell has been able to build up a gap. And for Ewell, Louise, this must be building confidence, just having the time to think about what you're going to do. How nice is it to have a bit of a gap at the front?
Yes, of course, really nice. Ewell is one of the greatest drivers I think we have in Aquila, or one of them. He's driving a lot of other stuff around Aquila. This is just for fun. So he's a really great driver.
Kevin Sørensen, I think, signing to Dante Johansson. He just got past him, hand out of the cockpit. He's trying to tell him, let's just try and catch up to Ewell Granfors. Dante, no, not adhering to that. That was a great shot from Kevin Sørensen. I think tried to signal to Dante, just try and catch up because he's getting away. And at the moment, Ewell Granfors doing that successfully. The gap last time round, that start-finish, was half a second. And he must have extended that this time round to about a second. If you're outside that second, you're not going to be able to get him again. Of course, Kevin has to watch out in the championship with that great first race for him, with both of his rivals, Kevin Sørensen and Elias Adestam, far down the order. It was a great race for Ewell Granfors. This time, Kevin, though, not able to overtake Dante. He's got to try again. Is he now, instead of Dante, going to try and stick behind? I have a feeling that there's a bit more speed for Kevin. Almost the same happening that happened in race 1. He got pushed off on the outside of turn 2. Almost the same happening again. I think we have the one of Jonathan Ölander driving slowly on track. Something must have happened to him. He's going to get lapped soon. I think he had a bit of a spin coming out of turn 3. But Dante Johansson defending stoutly against Kevin Sørensen, who has so much experience. One of the oldest drivers on this grid. And with the experience he's got, he coaches a lot of drivers as well. One of those drivers being Christian Louvain, who's up into P9 now, slowly but surely gaining the positions. He's 2/10 slower on his fastest lap than Robin Hofström. Robin, who broke his throttle chain, or his throttle cable, which puts him all the way down the order, finishing in P14 and absolutely last, plumb last. Of course, nothing that he could do about that. Ewell Granfors, the gap at start finish this time round up to 1.6. So it's really at the moment a battle for P2, and it looks like Kevin Sørensen is going to try and get it around the outside. Rodrigo Seabra trying something up the inside of the left-hander, not quite able to do it. Turn 4, a tricky overtaking spot, but he had a audacious move in mind, couldn't quite pull it off. So Dante Johansson stays in P3. Let's see if this traffic in the form of Jonathan Ölander is going to come into effect, because they're catching up to him pretty quick. He's now right behind him, and he's let him past. So Ewell Granfors is now past Jonathan Ölander. So for him, it's really a point of trying to find the gap. Jonathan using that slipstream to his advantage. Is he going to try a re-overtake down the turn 1? You would think not, with the fact that he's now one lap behind. He's not in that fight. So he stays behind. Kevin Sørensen having to defend the inside on Dante Johansson. Goodness me, Jonathan Ölander, think did what he did the previous lap, spins down into turn 2, and how easy is that to do, Louise?
Yeah, if you push the brakes a bit too hard, that's a really easy mistake you can make.
We saw that a lot of drivers had it difficult, especially into that corner in race 1. A lot of drivers getting their throttle pedals stuck, a lot of incidents in that corner. At the moment, Rodrigo Seabra up into P3, and at the moment I think also Elias Adestam is up there. Is that Elias Adestam working hard during the time he had between race 1 and race 2 to try and fix that throttle cable. But Rodrigo Seabra, the youngest drivers against one of the oldest on this grid. Kevin Sørensen under attack now from the 12-year-old, the 133 of Rodrigo Seabra up the inside of turn 1. Is he going to get it done before we even get to the apex of the corner? Yes, he is. Kevin trying to hang it round the outside. Beautiful shots once again on board with Kevin Sørensen. Bit of overstay going into the corner. Rodrigo on the outside. You have to watch out here. There isn't a lot of room there on the outside. And he hasn't managed to carry it round. Elias Adestam now dropping back. Dante Johansson tried to make his way up the inside, and he couldn't quite manage. He did indeed overtake Elias Adestam, but couldn't quite manage 2 in 1. Rodrigo stays on the podium, and I think if Ewell can't get a move on here, because it's 23 seconds left, we might have only one more lap, depending on when he's going to cross start finish. If I look a bit further back, I think we'll have 2 more laps after this one. The gap at the front of the field now 2.8 seconds last time across start finish. Indeed, we will have one more lap in it, so it's this one and one more. This time across the line, 3.8 seconds. You can see how much that fighting really is slowing them down. Down on the turn one now, Rodrigo Seabra under attack from Dante Johansson. Kevin Sørensen braking late, not having to worry about what's happening behind him. But once again, it looks like Rodrigo Seabra has managed to keep that position. Elias Adestam overtaking Dante Johansson now. He's a bit of a buffer from him to Dante. And Rodrigo Seabra has managed to hold that position. Elias now trying to make his way up into the podium. He was in this position in race one. And at that point, his throttle got stuck. So, bad luck really for Elias. He's got to try and make up everything he can on Kevin Sørensen. But with Kevin at the moment ahead of him in the championship and on track, that is not looking likely that he's going to make up any points. The last lap board is out on the right-hand side of screen. There it is, the marshal holding the last lap board. Kevin Sørensen going into that last lap with P2. And Elias Adestam, I think, has managed to overtake Rodrigo Seabra. So he's now once again off the podium. Elias somehow, Louise, has managed to find his way up onto the podium again.
Yes, you have. You've seen him a lot on the podium this entire season.
Yeah, he's finished on the podium quite a lot of times. I think on Yellerosen didn't finish outside of the podium once. He was one of the only drivers to finish all of those races on the podium. And Elias Adestam trying to make his way past Kevin Sørensen. Now this is for the championship. He lost points in race one. And he's trying to make up for lost points now. He's on the back of him. At least what this will do, it'll give him a better starting position for race 3, the last race here. But Joa Gronfors will make it 2 on the throttle. He wins race 2 here. And that will give him some good points in the championship to try and catch up to Kevin Sørensen, who finishes in P2 ahead of Elias Adestam. Not quite managing to overtake, but a good comeback drive from P13 onto the podium for Elias Adestam. Dante Johansson just missing out. Alexia Danielsson in P5 ahead of Rodrigo Seabra. What happened to him on the last lap? I guess we'll have to find out later on. Andreas Kotzebue in P7, Robin Hofström in P8, Victor Karlsson in P9 after that spin he had earlier on coming out of turn 5. Finding the grass on the inside, managed to climb up to P9, and Christian Lovett managing to get up to P10. Have you seen what happened to Rodrigo on the last lap, Louise?
I think Alexia just used I got a bit more speed on the track and it overtook him right at the finish line.
If we look at the gaps that were there, and we look at the difference, then the gap from Dante Johansson to Alexia Danielsson was 0.5 of a second. The same is the case for Alexia Danielsson to Rodrigo Seabra, so you might be right with that one. Here we can see Joa Gronfors in P1 ahead of Kevin Sørensen in P2, hand out of the cockpit, happy with that comeback drive. Elias Adestam in P3 can be happy with where he came from, coming from P13, making his way up onto the podium. Stellar drive from the 3. Dante Johansson in P4 ahead of Alexia Danielsson in 5th, Rodrigo Seabra in 6th, Andreas Kotzebue in 7th, Robin Hofström in 8th ahead of Victor Karlsson in 9th, and Christian Lovett making his way up into P10. Then a little bit further down the order in P11 we find Oskar Melstig, Fredrik Lindholm in 12th, Johan Valand in 13th, and Jonathan Ölander in P14. Not the race that he was hoping for. Thoughts on this race, Louise? Because it was up and down. Joa Gronfors once again winning the race by about 5 seconds. Who could stop? Who can stop him?
Apparently no one. He's unstoppable. Yeah, he got a bit of a gap when Kevin and Elias and Dante were fighting. So I think that dropped them down a bit.
Yeah, I think we saw Kevin also at one point with his hands out of the cockpit signaling to Dante, let's just not fight, let's try and catch up, because he's getting us out of the slipstream. In the end, that came too late from Kevin Sørensen, and it made it that Joa Gronfors had a bit of a Sunday drive at the front of the field. 5 seconds was the gap in the end. That was race number 1, or race number 2 here from the track. You can see the handshakes between Joa Gronfors and Kevin Sørensen, both great competitors. So then, well, the next race here at the Kinnekulle Ring will be a little bit later on, 15:30 local time. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you there. Goodbye.
Bye.